Hello. So, uh, just an update on health and stuff. I was doing regular neck exercises, except then I started adding in I never do like sideways because that always aggravated my tinnitus too much. But I was like, I need to have stability in my neck sideways because every time I'm laying on my bed, if I try to lift my head off the pillow, I get a sharp ringing sound. Like the ligaments just are not strong in that direction. They're not holding the C1 in place. And it was the same in other directions too. So like with the chin tucks or um, doing these like down, like hanging off my bed, and I using the SCM muscles, like pull myself down there a week. And it's turning my head with resistance, like holding and pushing through it, and then resisting the push back, and I'm up to like 40 of those, and then I don't really have. I used to, when I would do those, I'd have aggravated tinnitus for at least a couple days, sometimes a week or two, and now I can do like 40 of them, and the tinnitus doesn't really get worse the next day. Um, when I started doing the sideways ones, where you're like pushing your head through and then resisting it on the way back, and I just started off with 5 of them, and then I started getting this ringing. And I woke up, I was sleeping on my left side, so there's pressure around here on the pillow, and I don't know if I was sleeping funny on it or what, but I mean, it happened the same night after I did those exercises for the first time, and I got this low pitched like humming in my left ear. This is kind of medium pitch. It's not high, it's not low, but it's constant, and I can hear it over everything. Um, so like it used to be like I come here, like the ocean is like over there, just on the other side of the trees, and I couldn't really hear my tinnitus here, but now it's like I hear it here, I hear it everywhere. It's constantly annoying and loud. I know some people that have tinnitus, that's just their reality all the time. Um, but like I can't drown this out. Like I don't know why, because it's like I can play loud noises. It doesn't matter. I can always hear it, even though it's not. It's like if I go in a quiet room, it's not hugely insanely loud, but also nothing blocks it. Nothing drowns it out. It's really weird, because I'll have tinnitus that's louder than that noise, but that gets drowned out.
Well, what is it, 2:30?
Now this kind of tinnitus is caused by probably my C1 pushing on a nerve versus my internal jugular veins, like pushing on my brainstem, pushing on a nerve. Because the constant sounds are typically going to be your hearing damage. They're going to be nerve related. That doesn't mean you can't have nerve damage that's all crazy, like wild sounds. You can. But most people that have a constant sound, it's not related to blood flow, because blood flow is all over the place, right? And like my humming and hissing and ringing sounds, they improve, my blood flow increases when my internal jugular veins open up as I've tested on ultrasound. Those can improve or get worse depending on how much internal jugular vein compression I have at the moment. Like my head position like this versus like upright, or like if I'm laying down flat, there's more pressure on them, and so the tinnitus gets worse. The humming and ringing sounds get worse. But this is just, I can lay down, I can stand up, doesn't matter. It's just, I think it's pushing on something. And hasn't happened like this. Like when I first started having neck problems, this happened like February 2021, I think, maybe January. I had issues like this, and I haven't had issues since. But it's just, I guess my ligaments have been weak since then in that range of motion. I don't know what ligaments are even involved in side-to-side head motion. I imagine alar, imagine transverse a little bit, but I'm not 100% sure. But I just know that, like, because I have soft tissue problems throughout my body, that's like my knee, right? I could barely walk. And then I started working out, and I was like, okay, like, and I was doing sled pulls, which is a great exercise if your knees are bothering you.
Or was I learned?
God, it's demoralizing. It's really hard because it's like the tinnitus kind of sounds I've had for a while. You get more used to this stuff. Like if you were listening to this and you have tinnitus, and you've had it for a long time, you probably don't. It doesn't interrupt your thought process so much. Like even people that have had it for a long time, when they get a new sound, then that's more aggravating, more intrusive. Just even if it's not loud, it's just different, right? Like if I hear a different sound over by the ocean, I'm gonna pay more attention to it. If the ocean sounds different, if there's a storm, I'm gonna notice it. Whereas now, the whole time I was talking, I didn't hear the waves at all, even though they're loud. Like I think on the decibel meter on my phone, right now we're about like 50 dB. I don't know. I think the camera might filter it out just because the phones do that, so people can talk more clearly. But I measured, it's about 50 dB, and I lost my thought process again. So, well, also not sleeping because on top of that, I got some kind of like infection on my lips again. Like before, I had a problem with my tongue, and I thought it was like a yeast infection or something. Turns out it's this popcorn, specific popcorn. It's got some kind of preservative in it. It's weird. I've never seen that before. And I ate a bunch of different foods on the day, which my tongue was having problems the first time, so I didn't know. This time I ate the popcorn, and I've been eating the same thing for a week every day. Been eating beef, sausage, avocado, and low salt sausage and avocado, and there's also no sugar added to the sausage, and so pretty much no sugar and meat and some vegetables. And that's it for like a week. And then I eat this popcorn, and immediately my lips get swollen and chapped. My tongue has all these cracks in it. See all those cracks? I did not have any of those before. Before the first time, and then it happened, and then I got them, and it got better, and some of the cracks diminished. But man, like it didn't seem to matter what I do. On top of that, can't breathe through my nose for whatever reason. It's difficult. It feels like it's kind of stuffed. I mean, it's the winter, but I'm also in Florida, so it's like, I don't know. Anyway, so my mouth's just dry all the time. I drink water and immediately dries out. I'll just be sitting inside or just doing normal things. Even if I close my mouth for a while, it's just, my mouth just dries out. So I don't know if there's just too much salt on the popcorn or what, but anyway, it hurts. It feels like I have poison ivy in my mouth, and it hurts, and it burns, and it itches, and it tickles, and my lips are swollen, and it's awful, and it's been keeping me up all night. And in addition to that ringing sound in my ear, which is difficult to drown out or get used to, because I don't completely drown out the tinnitus at night, just because, like, the noises that I have to play to drown them out are annoying, so it's like, well, either way. But I usually play like crickets and rain, although I still have like those what do you call it, reactive noises. Like it sounds like someone taking your fingernail and running it down a comb, like whatever sound that makes. Every time I hear rain or meat sizzling on the stove or the ocean or any kind of white noise like that, I hear that. It sounds like someone's running their finger down a comb. And I ask other people, I'm like, do you hear anything that resembles it? No. Like if you turn on a fan too, like in the bathroom, I'll turn on a fan, it's like I start hearing it immediately. And that's not fun. It's pretty annoying. But as So where was I going with this? So I got this new noise, and the most important thing I want to note is that from doing the new exercises, and I recall last time, every time I started a new neck exercise, it was bad. It was really bad. In the first couple of days, the first couple of weeks, first couple of months, it was really bad. Like it just, every time I do it, I'm like, today's gonna, like I'll do it in the morning, and that day's gonna suck, and the next day's gonna suck, and I'm gonna get new noises, and I don't know how long they're gonna go, but none of them have been like this, where like some of them would come up and they'd be around for like 3 hours or something, maybe 4 hours, maybe the rest of the day, but they'd go away. Like the next day they'd stop. Maybe they'd come back the next day and then continue on the rest of the day. But they weren't just continuous nonstop no matter what. Like maybe through strenuous exercise, maybe through stretching, maybe through something, they go away. But this is just, I can take a shower, I can go for a walk all day, I can hang out outside, I can sit inside, I can go work out at the gym. It doesn't matter. Typically when I work out at the gym, because most of my tinnitus is blood flow related, the tinnitus mostly goes away. Because I'm increasing my blood and I'm moving around, and so my brain drains blood because I'm at the gym. And I know there's other people, it's kind of weird, that have internal jugular vein compression. Their tinnitus gets worse with exercise. I don't know. I think I've met like one or two people out of the thousands of people that have tinnitus where it gets quieter with exercise. I definitely met them. They definitely exist and have similar conditions. But a lot of people I met too, they just don't exercise, so they don't know. And I'm like, you just don't exercise? Like, that's insane. But anyway, for my knee, I've been working that out because I couldn't walk. And then, so I was like, that's when I started thinking like, well, you know, all these people are like, you know, you need to get regenerative therapy, you need to get PICL on your C1 and all this and that. I'm like, but regenexx also told me like they could help me with stem cells for my knee. And like, I just fixed my knee myself entirely, more than regenexx ever could. Because I'm not saying stem cells aren't good. Like, they will make your body say, we need to heal this area. Because they're not the stem cells that actually turn into other cells, I believe. They're like stem signaling cells. Or maybe you wouldn't say the word stem, maybe you just call them signaling cells. I forget. There's a guy that did a podcast on it who actually is the one that came up with the term stem cells. He was saying he should have called them signaling cells because should have differentiated between like actual stem cells and stem cells that we like when you take them from your stomach and you get them out and you re-inject them back into that same patient. They're not the cells that just become anything. They're the cells that say, hey, you need to fix this part of the body. And they do that better than PRP and prolotherapy. And so that stuff does help. Like, you'll inject that into your ACL or whatever is damaged, and that'll become thicker and it will heal quickly and all that. But when you're looking at $5,000 in an injection versus all the exercise I've done in the last 7 months, like what I've done is going to be more effective. Not per, like if you compare one day of exercise versus one injection of stem cells is probably going to heal more. But I've done many sessions of exercise, like 2 or 3 times a week for 7 months. And I started out light because my connective tissue is very weak. But that's what I've done. And I'm like, I healed my knee, so I was like, well, every other joint in my body is having problems with the same thing, right? Like my shoulders, like this one, I was frozen. I couldn't even like reach. Now I could probably reach like about 8 inches higher range of motion. It's a lot stronger. This shoulder was feeling like it was going to also freeze. It doesn't feel bad at all now. There's some slight discomfort that was more than like normal when exercising, like from like 5 years ago, but it was like full on, it's gonna freeze up and I'm not gonna be able to put on my underwear. Like, it was gonna be that bad. And now it's like I can, you know, I'm doing like, I do 10 pound presses vertical. I'll probably move to 15 pounds soon, and then doing curls and, you know, like these forward and like out to the side and like holding 10-pound weights. And I attempt push-ups, but because the other arm's busted, I can't like. It's hard, can't maintain the form. But so like I'm like I fixed the knee, and I'm like, well, nobody's ever suggesting exercise for my neck, right? Like nobody with CCI is like, you should work out your neck, right? Like my knee, like even for your knee, like regenexx is like, yeah, get these injections, you can get fixed. They're not like, do sled pulls, exercise your knee in the reverse direction that you normally exercise it, and then it'll get better. And then if that doesn't work, get stem cells. Or maybe if your MRI looks like you're hanging on by a thread, then get the stem cells, give it a couple weeks, then start exercising slowly. But nobody just suggests, hey, just try light exercise first if you can, and see if you can slowly increase that. Because if you can, when you strengthen the muscle, that's going to strengthen the tendon and the ligament. It's just going to. So that's what happens when you exercise. Your muscle gets thicker, your tendons and ligaments get thicker, and they have to get thicker, because if they don't, then your muscle would just tear off of your bone, and your muscles would be pointless. There'd be no strong people. Like if you look at the guy who's like world's strongest man, he played like the Mountain in Game of Thrones. Like his tendons are huge, his ligaments are huge, because they have to withstand they have to hold the bones together, and they have to hold the bone and the muscle together while he's expending enormous amounts of work or pressure or whatever. He's putting a lot of weight on his muscles and bones and tendons, and they have to be able to handle that. So anyway, so I'm like, well, I should try to strengthen my, ligaments, because like I'm tired of feeling like a bobblehead and I can't do anything. And plus, not exercising, I just get worse, right? If I'm like, okay, well, it hurts, it aggravates my symptoms, my tinnitus, when I'm moving my neck around, I just won't move my neck. Well, what does that do? That makes my ligaments weaker. And I don't have, $30,000 for 3 PICL treatments. And then I talk to people who get PICL treatments, and none of them are like, okay, yeah, I was having major problems, now I'm at 100% after one treatment. Nobody. I've never seen that. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying, like, if it does, it's rare. And I don't think the people that do that, like Dr. Centeno, Dr. Schultz, would even promise that. Like, they see that they're not dishonest. So yeah, I've been strengthening my neck, and I'm like, it's weak in this motion, I need to exercise that motion, that range of motion, because your neck can move every which way. And it's just like your shoulder. If you exercise your shoulder, like just doing like on the front, like this, that doesn't cover like the same muscles and ligaments or tendons. I forget how the connective tissue is in your shoulder, but it doesn't exercise it the same as it's going in the front. So if you're strong this way, but you're really weak this way, that's not good. And then there's something to be said for like vertical presses too, and rows, like when you're pulling the weights back. Oh, I can't see my arm. When you're pulling weights backwards, well, you do it with both hands, but you're basically rowing motion, which works out your upper back, but also is your shoulder typically in a range of motion a little bit. It's mainly your upper back, I think, that gets to work out, and your biceps. But yeah, so like I'm like, I still don't know what caused a connective tissue problem. I mean I got this weird problem with my tongue. I don't know. I got like, now I'm taking, I don't know what caused it. Like maybe that's related. Maybe it's completely unrelated. Maybe it's just dry because we have AC on. Can't breathe through my nose, breathe through my mouth all night. Got cracks. Put a bunch of salt in my mouth. It gets worse. It gets swollen. And maybe I get an infection. Maybe it's an allergy to that stuff. That weird kind of thing that only McDonald's uses as a preservative, and it's banned in a lot of countries. I don't know. It's like 4 letters. I forget what the 4 letters are. But anyhow, so yeah, I've been, like, my upper back was hurting, and I started doing rows because my shoulder was killing me, my left one, but like I was like, I can do it at lightweight at least, because I was doing no upper back exercise. My upper back was always killing me. they're just hurting all the time. And I'm like, well, if my connective tissue is weak there, like the ligaments in my spine are weak, then guess what's happening? The muscles are just tightening up because the nerves, your nervous system can sense when your spine's not in the right place, and it will tell your muscles on your spine and around the spine to hold on for dear life and keep it where it's supposed to be. So that's when you're going to have really stiff aches and pains because your connective tissue is not doing its job. Whereas like if you have really strong connective tissue, your back's going to be fine. And generally speaking, obviously you can have disc issues, you can have a pinched nerve, you could have problems with your vertebrae. There's more things that can happen to a back, but I'm just saying, strictly speaking, for connective tissue, you'll be fine. So you'll be able to like sit for a lot longer without any kind of back pain. You'll be able to stand for a lot longer. You'll be able to do manual labor for a lot longer without back pain, because the ligaments and the tendons. I don't know how tendons factor into the spine. I mean, all I know of is back ligaments, but there's got to be tendons at some point because there's muscles that attach to your vertebrae. Anyway, so they're bearing the forces, and your muscles don't have to do anything except what you ask them to do. They don't have to also hold your spine and your skeleton in the right place, which it's not. Muscles aren't meant to just contract and like hold a position for a long period of time. So that's why connective tissue is great, because it can just be tough tissue that holds this position and exists. And muscles are not. Like when you do that, like a lot of people when they sit at the computer, they're shrugging and they're stressed and they're up in here, it gets all tense and sore because you're like this all day and you're stressed and you're at the computer or whatever, and it's because your muscles are not meant to do that. You're not supposed to just contract them for a long period of time. So yeah, so I'm trying to work out my neck the same as every other joint in my body, because every other joint in my body is getting help, and I have had improvements where like I'm doing these sideways ones, I'm doing these chin tucks, and the next day I'm like, my tinnitus isn't like crazy bad, and I can lay down on my bed. My tinnitus doesn't get instantly worse, and I can lean over the stove and like cook and like do stuff for a little bit, and I'm fine. I don't feel like my head's coming off. It's still not like 100%, but it's like significant, noticeable improvements. I'd still like to improve another. I'd still like to increase my strength like another 2 or 3 fold, like to get back where I think would be normal, like a healthy person my age. So I'm like, that's why I was trying to apply that. But then I got this horrible noise in my ear now. And yeah, I'm hoping it goes away. I don't know, maybe I could go to the upper cervical chiropractor and he could move the C1 a little bit. That might, if that stops it, then we'd know like, alright, it was pushing on something. But I don't know, I might give it a week or two to see like if it goes away on its own through continued exercise, pushing through it. I don't know. It's really emotionally difficult to deal with, as most of you know. It can be hard, especially with new sounds, and very demoralizing. It's like this exercising a joint that is screwed up is not a straight ahead path. Like when I first was working out my knees, it was awful. Like I couldn't walk the next day. And I did it light. I was doing sled pulls with like 30 pounds, 40 pounds, which is like you walk backwards and you barely feel like you're even pulling anything. Because I weigh 165. Or at the time when I started, I weighed 170. I thankfully lost some weight, but I mean, what's 40 pounds? You know, like you could put 40 pounds on your back and go for a walk and barely notice the weight on your legs. Like, if you walk for several miles, and yeah, you'll be like, my feet hurt more than normal. But legs are strong. It's not that much. So I felt like I was pulling practically nothing, and the next day I'm like, oh my god, I can't stand up hardly. Like, Jesus, even though I did such light weight, I still like overdid it. But then, you know, it would be bad for like 3 or 4 days, and then I'd go again and do the same weight again, and then maybe it'd only be bad for 3 days, and then I'd go again, do it again, still be bad for 3 days, to go again. But then after months, it's like, now it's like you do it, it's like I can do 100 pounds and on the sled pulls, and I'm moving. I'm not like taking it easy or leaning into it, which takes some of the. I'm standing up vertical, not leaning backwards, so that because that does some of the work for you. I'm standing up vertical and pulling this thing with my shins and my knees, walking backwards, and the next day I'm like, my knees are a little sore. It's not, it's just like if you played soccer the day before, your legs would be a little sore. So it's like normal levels of sore. It's like I'm fine. And it's like I still am slow to increase the weight because I'm like I can still feel it. Like my tendons are still a little sketchy. If I try to move in an odd direction or something, they're still like I don't know if they're gonna hold on. But so I'm like well, I'm gonna apply that to my neck, and because like a lot of people are avoiding their neck and just trying to get regenerative therapy, or avoiding the neck because it aggravates their symptoms, and it's like. But then your ligaments are going to get, like if you have CCI where your C1 vertebrae is moving around in there and you don't exercise, it's just going to get worse. And even like regenerative therapy doctors will tell you the same thing. Like if you ask them like, hey, if I don't, am I going to get atrophy if I just don't move my neck? They're going to say, yeah. Like Dr. Centeno said, like even at some point, he's like you can not move your neck and just keep still. Even after you get PICL treatment, but at some point you got to start exercising it because you got to rebuild the muscle there. You can't just let it sit. So, like, people are regenexx, I'm not trying to paint them out to be liars or a scam or anything like that, or any regenerative therapy. I'm just saying, like, I can't afford it, one, and for two, it's like, I got to do it anyway. So I'm like, well, why don't I try first? I mean, I'm trying pretty light. With my knees, I guess I overdid it, but my neck, my neck's not really sore, but I think the ligaments they're so weak on, like, the side bending motion. They're so weak. It's pathetic. I mean, in a normal person, there wouldn't be weak. And a normal person, if you lay off a bed and try to raise your head and, like, touch your chin to your chest, that's hard. But if you lay on a bed face down and try to pull your head back, it's easy. Because you're always looking down, so you're always strengthening those muscles, but you're not leaning back like this. So your SCMs are really weak. But since I've been exercising my SCMs, like laying back on my back with my head hanging off the bed, and then I tuck my chin in my chest like that, do like 15 of those, like sets of 3 every 3 days. I can squeeze my SCMs now. I don't really feel any discomfort. I remember before I started doing that, it hurt. I was like, oh my god, they're so tender, they're so sore. I felt like at the base where they connect, the connective tissue, and at the top up here, they'd be especially sore. But now it's like I'm fine. Like it hurts as much as like if I squeeze my forearm muscle, that hurts a little bit. But it's like there's a little bit of extra pain, but it's hardly anything. And I think that's just not emphasized. People to talk about craniocervical instability, damage to your ligaments. It's like people are like regenerative therapy grows your ligaments. I'm like, exercise literally grows your ligaments. Same way it grows your muscles, the same. Causes slight damage. The body's like, I'm gonna make this stronger so it can withstand that force in the future. And then you increase the weight, and the body's like, I gotta make this stronger so you can withstand that force in the future. And you increase the weight, and it's like, I gotta make this thing even stronger. Obviously, connective tissue does the process more slowly. So like, it just doesn't grow as fast as muscle. So like, I think the limiting factor in muscle building is actually connective tissue building, because you can grow your muscles pretty damn quick, but if you try to do it too quick, that's when people injure their shoulder, or they injure their elbow, or they injure their wrist, because the connective tissue hasn't caught up. So especially if you're eating really healthy, like I eat a lot of protein now, I eat a lot of amino acids for building connective tissue. Like I drink whey protein isolate, which is whey protein, but like the whole amino acid chain, which includes lysine, glycine, and proline, which are what are used to make your connective tissue. You don't have those, you don't have the connective tissue, I'm pretty sure. But it doesn't have the lactose in it. You take that out. And I think the amino acids are more basic or something. I don't know. Amino acids are in the exact same form, but it works. Like people use it for muscle building, like bodybuilders and stuff use it. It works great. And then the meat, and then I'll eat spinach, and so like and vitamin C and copper. Vitamin C has been shown to greatly increase collagen regeneration synthesis, whatever you call it, and also copper, because we don't really get enough copper. So I'll probably take like 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams throughout the day in vitamin C, like 500 milligrams in the morning, 500 at lunch, 500 at dinner, and then I'll just take one copper pill, because I can't, like, it's too much for one day to take multiple all in one pill. So I'm just like, I just take one. I forget how much it is, but I got it from pure supplements. But anyway, so I take the copper, and that helps cross-linking of collagen significantly. I think they said in the various studies, there was like double the cross-linking that happened in 8 weeks of taking it once a day versus the control group. And I don't know how much of is that a 20% increase in strength? I don't know. But I'm desperate, so. I mean, I have seen people make great strides also, like in real world examples, like make significant strength increases in what they can do safely, like lift, significant increases in their mobility and strength in their joints with vitamin C and also copper. So I'm like, I take those. So someone who's taking all that stuff, I get stronger pretty quick. Like I'll do like I'll be increasing the weight every week on like, but then I'll start to feel my elbow get a little tweaky, or my hips are sensitive, or my knees. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll do a few more reps, but I'm not going to increase the weight. Like maybe instead of 10 reps in a set, I'll do 11, or I'll do 12, but I'm not going to increase the weight. Maybe I'll increase the weight like once a month, up like 5 pounds for like my hips or my sled pull or something like that. Because I feel like my muscle is getting a lot stronger, a lot faster with all this like dietary stuff. But my connective tissue, even though it's getting all it needs, I think now, it's connective tissue. It just doesn't grow as fast. So yeah, I still don't know what's going on with me. But I mainly wanted to let people know, and this is also a record for myself. This isn't just like I'll post these videos and people will be like, hey man, like why are you crying so much, essentially? And it's like, it's like, I need to make this because I need to say, this is what happened when I did this. Because if you ask me this 2 months from now, I'm not going to know. A year from now, I don't remember any of it. And it'll be gone. There'll be no record of anyone having exercised and gotten terrible worse tinnitus in 1 ear, one side just got a C1 issue and is taking these supplements and has this kind of connective tissue disorder and it's this age and this kind of climate, living this kind of lifestyle, etc., etc., etc. And this is all very important information down the line if someone's looking at my situation and saying like, hey, I also worked out my neck, maybe they can fill in the blanks with their condition, what they're going through, what they need to do with this. I'm not saying I know everything. I'm just saying like it's also good for me to know like this is what I did and this is where I came from, right? So like sometimes I'll be thinking like I'm the same as I was a year ago and nothing's changed because I don't remember it. I just remember it fucking sucked then. It fucking sucks now. And but I have made improvements, but it's hard to tell. Like if you make a 20% improvement in a year, how can you even feel that? It's hard to tell. How would you know? Like I was the other night, I was in the bathroom with the fan off, and I took my phone out, and it was 23, 24 dB, and I was pretty comfortable. Wasn't really stressed about the tinnitus. It wasn't really bothering me, and that's pretty quiet. I mean, your car is about the only place you're going to get quieter. Like if you shut the door in your car and you're in a quiet place, you can get it down to about 20 dB and really hear your tinnitus. And it's pretty fucking annoying still when I'm in the car. Because it's not linear, it's like exponential or something. It's not like it's not a straight line like how decibels work. So like when you go a few dB less, it's significantly quieter. Like I think I don't know if you can get like much quieter than like 18 decibels. I don't know, I'm not a sound engineer, but like 20 is really quiet. But I was comfortable, and before I didn't used to be comfortable unless it was like 28 to 30 dB, like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Obviously now with this new humming sound, this new like hum in my ear, this ring, this noise, I'm pissed off a little bit about it. I'm trying to like, what I tell myself is I tell myself, like, each time I think to, I try to head off the emotional reaction. I tell myself, each time I think about it, every time I think about it, even if I think about it 50 times an hour, I tell myself it's my body's making noise. It's not a dangerous thing. Because I think naturally what causes people the anxiety is it's an unknown noise in your environment you can't control. There's also the anxiety of, holy shit, I have to fucking put up with this for the rest of my fucking life. I don't want to die. You know, that thought occurs to a lot of people. I'm not trying to say I'm suicidal. I'm just saying that's the kind of thought that can occur and in people. And there's nothing wrong if you are suicide depressed. I have been and still have my moments, and I do talk to a therapist about it. And we do need to have these videos up with people talking about stuff and not have them taken down for like, because people need to know. People need to talk about it. There's too many men out there, especially, who do not talk about this shit. Like, a woman can complain and cry all day, but a man comes on, it's all you need to man up and get your shit together and pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And it's like, we're the same. We're not different. Like, I got a chromosome that's different when I was in the womb, and I could have been a woman, and I didn't. I got this chromosome and I'm a man. But we're not that different. Like, obviously I have more testosterone in my body, and that changed my body physically, and that changed my brain physically. So obviously you're not a fool if you think there's a difference between men and women. There are. And even trans people will tell you, who they're the people that want to be treated regardless of gender fairly the most. And even they will be the first people to tell you, yes, there's most definitely differences biologically. But and I know I'm not bullshitting. Like, I've talked to them because I'm like, what's up with this and what's up? I'm trying to understand, because there's always talk about that kind of topic these days. And so anyway, so we're different, but it's like mentally, like, we need support emotionally. Men need support emotionally the same as women do, and we don't get it, and we push through it, and then we think like, oh, we're stronger. Now it's like saying, like, you didn't take care of your knee, you pushed through it, and now your knee's stronger. But is your knee stronger? Or it might not be. It might be all screwed up now. Like, you might be walking around on a shitty knee. Like, women are tough and men aren't as tough as we like to believe. Like, women can handle things. Like, women can handle war. Like, you can give a woman a gun and say, go fucking kill those people over there, and they can do it. And men can have a friendship end and cry about it. Like, we're all human, and though we obviously have real differences, and they are real, like, we're all human. Which means, like, we're human, like, Right, so I don't need to be soapbox. I need to keep this, like, informational. It's already long, so yeah, I think that's pretty much all I said. Supplements, tilting my head, exercising, that causes damage, and cause the ringing to change. And I don't know, I'll probably update later and say if it's still there or not. My mouth is bothering me worse because it feels like I have poison ivy in my mouth, for Christ's sake. I can't eat hard food. But I'm pretty confident that's going to go away in a few weeks. Disability, I'm trying to get that. That's a ball ache because no doctor wants to say I'm even partially disabled, even though I can't do repetitive physical tasks. I'm connective tissue problems. And I can't sleep half the time because of my damn tinnitus. And I wake up and I'm like, it feels like I got a fever of 102, and that's every other day of my life. Like, that's how shitty I feel. And I'm like, I can't do that. I couldn't be a barista. I couldn't be a bartender. I couldn't be a lifeguard. I can't be a cybersecurity analyst. Like, I can't be there. I can't show up and make it happen. I can't drive a vehicle. And it's like, I don't know when I'm going to have good days and when I'm going to have bad days. I just don't know. And it's like, I talk to doctors. I'm like, can you say I have these issues? And the only doctors that seem willing to work with me are chiropractors and mental health people, because they're like, we're tired of pretending people don't have issues when they got mental health. It's real. But a doctor, if you go to a doctor and say, like, my shoulder's killing me, I can't function, they're like, yeah, but you're a man, so, you're a pussy. Just fucking get on with your life. especially in rural. I live in a rural area, so if you're a man, you're just a pussy. If you can't do everything without help. Um, well, there's younger people in rural areas. They're more kind of aware that you're not Superman. Men are not all Superman, and if you're not, then you're a pussy. But you get doctors in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and they're just like, I'm not going to say you're disabled. Unless you, like, literally can't move because you're paralyzed or something, or you have MS and you can't get out of bed. Or it's, like, real serious shit. There's also the fact that in rural areas, especially older doctors, they don't acknowledge, they're not aware of all these, they don't, like, there's no doctor that I see for connective tissue problems that's, like, aware of connective tissue. Like, people are like, I'll be like, there's no such thing as a connective tissue expert. Blanket statement. And people come out of the woodwork, and I think most of these people are terrified because they don't have the health problems I have, and they're scared, which is weird because they're telling me to man up, and they're scared, and they're like, no, you're wrong, you can't be right. There has to be doctors that are specialists on connective tissue, like orthopedic doctors and rheumatologists and all this. And I'm like, my rheumatologist doesn't even know that vitamin C can help you with connective tissue. Doesn't suggest it to me at all. Doesn't suggest copper. Isn't aware that everyone has a copper deficiency nowadays, pretty much, because there's no more copper in the goddamn ground. I forget why. I don't know if it was like the way we farm doesn't reintroduce copper to the soil. I forget. But there's not as much copper in plants now as there used to be. 10,000 years ago, 500 years ago, 100 years ago. Like, in our diets, what we evolved is like over tens of thousands of years because we live long lifespans. So it takes tens of thousands of years for evolution to take place. So we basically need to be eating how we ate 2,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. That's how we're supposed to eat, generally speaking. Obviously, there's genetics. People do change from region to region. Like, there's like Inuit people up in Alaska that simply have different dietary needs. Like, they need to eat a different diet to get adequate nutrition. Like, they eat what I eat, they're not going to get it, and vice versa. So that's a real thing that exists. We're not the same. People in China whose families go back, to forever. They've been in that location for 10,000 years. Their genetics are going to be different. So, why did I get into this? So, because there's no connective tissue doctors that seem to be aware of, like, basic things, like that EDS exists, that you can do genetic testing for EDS. They're like, really? That regenerative therapy actually helps connective tissue? They're like, oh, the literature says, like, if stem cells actually help, then everyone would be doing it. I'm like, no, the only reason not everyone does stem cells is because it's not covered by insurance. I mean, everybody wants to do it. Anyone with half a brain and 10 seconds to search for, like, do stem cells work on Google? Like, they'll be like, oh, here's like 50,000 fucking people that it helped in the last year, and their lives are completely different and change forever, and they can do everything, and they're happy, and they can go back to work and all this. It's irrefutable. It's like, it helps tremendously. I'm not saying it couldn't improve. Like, maybe stem cells that will look back in 10 years and will be like, God, we were doing it that way. That's awful. But I'm just saying, like, it helps. And they're not aware. They're not aware at all. And so, like, people around here, they just, like, they want me to go see these doctors. And I'm like, I go see these doctors for, like, disability, like, lawyers. I'm talking to disability lawyers. Like, you've seen people with connective tissue disorder. And I'm telling people, because, like, you deal with these connective tissues. When you try to get disability, like, you'll be like, damn, nobody will tell me, like, I'm having the problems I'm having. It's because doctors don't understand connective tissue. And when you say that, people all over the internet and in person even will be like, yeah, they do. Of course, you can go see a doctor. I'm like, no, they don't know shit. Like, I went to the ER. Like, doctors don't know a lot of stuff. And that doesn't make them stupid. There's just, the human body is very complicated, and there's new stuff coming out all the time. And they're already working hard all day long. And at the end of the day, are they going to go home and research medical shit? I know when I work in cybersecurity, when I got off work, was I going to research in cybersecurity? No. I was not doing that. So I just did that for like 9 hours, because we don't have 8-hour days anymore. Fuck you, corporations. And so we don't have that. Like work ethic. Like, doctors don't, so they don't know. But I'm here to say, like, they actually don't know. Like, So I'm trying to deal with this shit, and doctors don't even understand what a connective tissue problem is. They're like, how do you even know you have a connective tissue problem? I'm like, because my connective tissue hurts. They're like, well, that doesn't mean anything. It's like what kind of crack are you smoking? Like, if I come in and I say, yeah, I got muscle problems all over my body, my muscles hurt, I got some kind of muscle problem, they're not gonna be like, how do you know you got a muscle problem? That's fucking stupid as shit. They'd never say that. They might say, how do you know what the cause is to it? Sure, yeah, like, I don't know. I still don't know what the cause of my connective tissue problem is. But how do I know? Like, no doctor in the right mind would question whether or not I have a muscle problem throughout my body. If I said I have muscle problems throughout my body, they'd say, yeah. Everyone listening to this, every doctor, every nurse, everyone in school, every researcher. If I say I have muscle problems, people say, yes, you do, I believe you. But if I say I have connective tissue problems, people are like, how do you know? I'm like, because my brain's attached to it. You know how like your brain has these nerves that go throughout your body, you can like feel stuff. Like, there's not a person around that doesn't know they have soft tissue injury. Like, someone hurts their knee, they're not like, ow, my knee muscle. They're like, I hurt my knee. Like, I hurt a tendon or a ligament in my knee. Like, we all know this, but we still can't, like, doctors can't accept if you go to them and say, I got soft tissue problems. At least around where I am, they're like, I don't believe you. Like, what doctor diagnosed that? I'm like, first of all, you're fucking stupid. Second of all, like, I mean, I have had many doctors that say that yes, you have joint problems that involve your connective tissue throughout your body. Like, if I talk to my orthopedic surgeon, granted he's not an expert, like I'm saying, or a rheumatologist, granted he doesn't know dick about connective tissue problems, like, they still acknowledge, they're like, yeah, I mean, your joints shouldn't be hurting like that. Like, you should not be having that kind of pain in your wrist and your knuckles and your elbow. If you do like slight movements, all of a sudden your knee hurts, your toes hurt for months. I mean, that's clearly like a connective tissue problem. Like, obviously. Like, if I go and maybe they didn't believe me initially, but I'm like, look, I got this going on. What can this be? And they're just like, it has to be connective tissue, because what else is there? It's not your muscle, right? Like, between your fingers, like, it's not like in your joint. So that's either arthritis or you have a connective tissue problem. I mean, obviously arthritis can be because of a connective tissue problem, because it's all it means is inflammation of the joint. But you can have like osteoarthritis, which is your bone inflammation. Like your bone, maybe you got bone spurs or something that causes inflammation because their bones are rubbing against bone and stuff like that. Bones are grinding against the connective tissue. Not necessarily a problem with the connective tissue itself, problem with the bone, but they'll acknowledge, like, you've got these problems with your connective tissue throughout your body. So, of course, yes, also doctors, like 20 different doctors would tell you right now. But, like, at the same time, it's just like, if someone has connective tissue problems, it's really easy to tell. It's because the connective tissue fucking hurts. Like, it's not hard. It's tissue in your body that hurts that isn't your muscle. And guess what that is? Connective tissue. Like, holy shit. And doctors get so pissed. They get so frustrated when you talk. No, I can't be wrong because I'm a doctor. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I don't know what it is with doctors. If there's any doctors out there and you're listening to this, I went to school for 9 years. And I gotta tell you, the people that I went to school with were dumb. When they graduated, they didn't stop being dumb. They're still dumb. They're experienced, but they're still dumb. So if you're a doctor and you're like, oh, I'm super smart, I'm the best humanity has to offer, I'm special, it's like, maybe. I mean, if you are a really, really smart doctor, then doctors screw up all the time. You're human, and you know a lot of other doctors that are fucking morons. Like, it doesn't, like, I work in cybersecurity. I work with people that I'm just like, dude, like, and I have that, I'm stupid too. Like, I have my days where I'm just, somebody help me because my brain does not work today. Like, God help me. Like, I don't know my left from my right. Like, it's just being human. Like, brains are not on point all the time. and they can't juggle massive amounts of different kinds of information, and they can't know everything. Like, I write everything down, so people will be like, wow, you're really smart. I'm like, no, I wrote it down, like, because like, I'm doing these videos, and because I forget. I can't remember this stuff, and like, my doctor's like, no, rules don't apply to me. I'm Superman. I can't be wrong. My ego is just, like, the best ever. Like, I'm the best. And it's like, you're not. Like, and if you're a doctor who's listening to this, it's like, just look it up on Google. I mean, there's a lot of shit out there. Like, like, EDS is a thing, mold exposure is a thing, Lyme's disease is a thing. Like, but you should also know nutritionally, like, vitamin C and copper are related to connective tissue, but also amino acids. Like, no doctor was like, are you getting enough amino acids? We should test for that. No doctor said that. No doctor said vitamin C. No doctor said copper. I said vitamin C, and they're like, yo, why would you need that? I'm like, because I have connective tissue problems. Copper, why would you need that? Why would you need your amino acids checked? That's crazy. Why would you? Oh, why would I need to check the little building blocks for the connective tissue in my body to see if I have them? For my connective tissue problems, why should we see that? And then I eat those things. Oh, and miraculously, my connective tissue is much stronger now. Surprise. It's just like, I just don't understand. Like, if you come in with any problem that could be related to nutrition and you're a doctor, I understand that insurance companies heavily influence the medical industry, and you have to explain everything and be like, this is unusual. Why are you testing for this? And why are you doing this preventative test? I know doctors get a ton of shit. I know. I talk with doctors, and they get so much crap. They get so much pushback. There's plenty of doctors out there that would love to do like full panel blood tests, full nutritional tests, full amino acid tests on everyone once a year. Like, every year. Why? Like, if we were a vehicle, right? Like, say you owned this robot or whatever, and it was a biological organism, and it was your whatever personal servant, and it went around your house and did all this shit for you, and it costs, $1 million or whatever it costs, because it's like, this biological organism. You'd be out there spending like $5,000 a year on checkups for it. You'd be out there getting like all kinds of tests done every year just to make sure everything was good. It'd be your pride and joy. But like, we go to we have our cars, and we go take our cars to the mechanic, and then they're like, man, whatever it takes, we got to fix this. If this takes us 5 hours to work on it, we got to fix it. We got to figure out what's wrong. We got to fix it. You go to the doctor, they're like, I mean, we could do a test, or we could just fucking do nothing. You could do nothing and just say it's on your head, or see how it goes on a year. It's like, dude, I'm fucking human. I have a human biological body. Let's treat it better than we treat cars. How about that? And I know a lot of that's the insurance agency just bullshitting with doctors. And I realize, too, that there's a finite amount of money in the world. And insurance agencies would not be viable if we literally did every test known to man on everyone all the time. Like, you can't just print money like that. Like, it has to come from somewhere. But we also know for sure that preventative medicine would end up saving insurance companies in the long term. But insurance companies have stock, and they have shareholders, and they want quarterly improvements, or they want them twice a year, or every year. They want to have something to show. They want to increase their stock value continuously. So they're focused on short term. They don't care if you die. Like, mathematically, like, personally, if you call this person an insurance agency, they're a person and they care about you. But the way their company runs is that we need to make this business viable and go where the numbers take us. So we're going to steer this ship in the direction of the higher numbers. And they do that, and we're dying because of it. And so I think there's a middle ground where you can say, like, okay, we know you want short-term profits, but also we need this preventative medicine. And this matters for connective tissue kind of stuff, because you're going to want these tests, and doctors don't want to give them to you, and that's why. It's not because they don't give a fuck. I mean, some don't give a shit, sure, but some doctors want to care, and they'll be like, why do you need that test? Why do you... It's like, or they'll do this gem is when you say, like, it's unlikely that this test will turn up anything. Well, guess what? When you have a connective tissue problem, almost every test that you run is unlikely. And I may not be a doctor, I may not be a medical professional, but I sure as shit know how to troubleshoot things. I have solved many problems that people have deemed unsolvable. Okay? I am very good at my job. I have done the impossible many times. I have done what people who are industry beasts who have 25 years doing what I'm doing for like 2 or 3 years, maybe if I'm trying something new, and I will fucking destroy them. I will come up with solutions that will solve the problems because I know how to troubleshoot something. And I know one of the fundamental hiccups that people get stuck up on is when they try all the things that are likely, they say, well, this other test is unlikely, I'm not going to try it. This other thing is unlikely, I'm not going to try it. This other thing is, you see, it just keeps saying that, and well, guess what? You're never going to find the solution. Like, once you're done testing the likely things, don't get caught in the trap of not testing the things that are unlikely. Like, I'll say to people that I'm trying to say, we need to do this test. And they're like, I don't know if you need, like, if I'm talking about cybersecurity or whatever, troubleshooting in IT. And they're like, I don't know. I'll be like, look, we tested everything that is likely. The only thing left is the unlikely stuff. And now we have to test the unlikely stuff. And I know it's not likely to turn up anything, but we got to do it because we need to solve the problem. And I think in the medical industry, doctors are not like, they don't have the attitude of, we need to solve the problem. They have the attitude of, we need to get you in the door and out the door with the least amount of spending possible. And I'm not saying they're not humans, they want to help you, but they're also following that business model imposed upon them by the insurance agencies, by their medical practice, and massive debt, because a lot of them, especially newer doctors, are in massive debt. And so they're like, I just can't deal with this. Like, I don't know, I can't help you, whatever words I have to say with my mouth to get you out the door. And I don't care. If it helps you, I would prefer that. But if it doesn't, then goodbye. And one of those things is they'll get caught in that trap and say, oh, it's unlikely that this vitamin C test will turn up anything. It's unlikely that copper test will turn up anything. It's unlikely that amino acids will turn up anything. On a side note, there's also a fundamental misunderstanding I think we have of how much a person needs. Like, we'll say, oh, a person should have 2,000 milligrams of sodium a day. And it's like, that's bullshit. Like, right off the bat, like, the nutritional values are bullshit if they're saying that. Because where did we get our sodium from 2,000 years ago? 10,000 years ago? We could have been getting more than like 200 milligrams a day. What, from meat and vegetables and fruit? There's not that much sodium in that stuff. So we weren't, for our whole evolutionary period, before we got into like salt mining and getting salt from the ocean, we didn't have salt like that. I guess fish would probably have the most salt. And we did eat fish for many thousands of years. But still, like, our modern diet has so much salt. So much. Like, I'd be very surprised if an old-timey diet, like back in the day, ate more than 1,000 milligrams. Like, that would be a lot. And now they're saying 2,000 a day. It's like fucking ridiculous. The only way you can even achieve that now, if you go to the store and you want to get 2,000 a day, is you have to eat food with salt added to it unnaturally. There's no other way to get that much salt. I mean, that I know of. I mean, there might be some salty foods out there that are naturally salty, but I mean, like, all the nutrition labels I've seen, all the stuff I've looked up about fruits and vegetables and stuff. So then the doctors are saying, you need this much vitamin C, and you need this much of this amino acid, and you need this much of... I'm just like... I mean, at best, it's an average that doesn't apply to everyone. And I'm pretty sure they're just wrong about a lot of it. Because I'm seeing a lot of people that they take vitamin C supplements well beyond the daily nutritional requirements. And they're seeing much better connective tissue results with it. Like, much better. And I'm like, well, I mean, if we're all so much healthier eating more, then, I don't know. That's pretty much all I got for all my thoughts on all this stuff, what I'm dealing with, disability and noise and all that shit. So I'm gonna try to get through the day and. Jesus. Man, I can still hear this and I'm freaking at the ocean. I don't know. Maybe I'll try to. I don't know. try to distract. What I was saying before, last thing I wanted to say is every time I encounter a kind of noise that's like really bothering me emotionally, I try to say that's just my body. That's not an environment. It's not a noisy environment. It's my body making noise. It's my body making noise. My body making the noise. And yeah, it sucks, but it's my body making noise. And then if I can prevent it enough and get in the habit of it, then every time my attention focuses towards it, and it focuses again, and if every time I'm preventing that negative reaction, then I think I've seen times where like I start to think about it less and think about it less and think about it less. Because if every time I'm coming to it, it's not an exciting thing, it's not a depressing thing, it's just a thing, you know. And I can be comfortable with quite loud noises. We all can. Like I've seen people around construction sites where there's loud noise going on. No one's emotionally bothered. Nobody. Because like I know what that noise is. Now that doesn't mean you want to have that noise all the time. That would bother you if you're like, okay, I'd like to go home and relax and read a book and you not have that noise. But it's possible for us to withstand some strong noises if we don't have the negative emotional reaction. So that's why I was trying to prevent that. I can't lie to myself. People will be like, you just pretend it's this noise. I can't pretend because I know exactly what's causing it. I know specifically it's my C1 pushing out my nervous system. So what am I supposed to, I've tried pretending, I've tried telling myself that doesn't work. So I tell myself it's my body making the noise. So like if my computer was making the noise, it wouldn't bother me at all. Like it would be a slight nuisance where I'd be like, maybe I need to replace my fan or look into that. But I'd be able to sit through it all day and be like, but because it's from my ear and it pisses me the fuck off, it's really bothersome. I mean, I don't have to explain. Like, tinnitus sucks really fucking bad. So I'm trying to stop the emotional reaction. Okay, so that's everything. I hope you guys are doing better than me. And I'll see you around.